2022, North India's largest cultural festival hosted by IIT Delhi. Can we please have a round of applause for Rendezvous 2022? This year's Rendezvous is special because it's happening in person after a long haul of 2 years. And to mark the perfect beginning of this extra special edition of Rendezvous, we have an extremely inspiring personality joining us for a one-on-one discussion. He's someone who almost all of us have looked up to at some point or the other in our college lives. Be it across social media platforms, in the form of newsletters in our inboxes, or even at the best-selling bookshelves of every bookstore in the country, he's everywhere. He's a serial entrepreneur, a best-selling author, an online educator, and a content creator. He engages with a community of more than 5 million followers across social media platforms and has educated over 150,000 students with his online courses so far. His first book, Do Epic Shit, got released in 2021 and hit #1 in India. To add to all that, he's also the founder of Nearby.com. By now, you all must have guessed who I'm talking about. Anyone? Please give a huge round of applause for Mr. Ankur Warikoo. I'd like to call Harshit to present a bouquet to serve as a token of appreciation. Yes, please.
Awesome. Please. Thank you.
First of all, welcome to IIT Delhi.
It is such a pleasure to be back, and I'm so happy that this is happening in person. I know that you guys would have pulled off a miracle after the recent guidelines that came in, but I'm so happy to be on campus, to be in person with all of you. Thank you for having me.
It is such an honor to have you here with us today, sir. As I mentioned, today is extra special, and it's even more special because Ankur sir is here with us in person, and we've all seen him so many times across the screen on YouTube, on Instagram, on our LinkedIn feeds, but now we're getting to see him in person, and I am personally super duper excited. I am pretty sure that everyone in the audience is as well.
Thank you.
So I think without any further ado, we should get started with the discussion. So first of all, one question that I think a lot of us have for you is, you manage so many roles together. You are an entrepreneur, you're a content creator, and you are an author now. Which one of these roles and other roles that you play do you enjoy the most, and why?
I think conclusively the answer would be that of an entrepreneur. I'd like to call myself an entrepreneur. I somewhat cringe जब mall में लोग बोलते, आप YouTuber है ना? And I like, हाँ मैं 40 साल का YouTuber हूँ, because that doesn't just fit in. So if you can call me an entrepreneur, even if you don't think I am, but that's the one identity I would love to be imbibing.
Right. Okay. Any specific reason for that?
It's cool, but no, I think it's more than being an entrepreneur. The big thing which most of you who are so young will realize, entrepreneurship is not a profession. अक्सर हमें ऐसा लगता है कि entrepreneurship is you have to have a startup, you have to go and raise money, you have to be on Shark Tank, you have to be this and that, blah blah blah. But entrepreneurship is actually a state of mind. It's how you think and behave and operate that makes you an entrepreneur or not. And at some point of time, very quickly, most of you will be joining jobs, and you may think of yourself as an employee. You will think of yourself as somebody who's working for somebody else. And that will be such a loss of identity for all of you, because you have the choice of being an entrepreneur while in a job. And that is purely determined by the way you think. So I think the entrepreneurial DNA and the way that you think and approach things is what I love, irrespective of whether I've started up or not.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. So you mentioned entrepreneurship. I think let's start with that. Can you tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? How did you come up with the idea? When did you start? Why did you start?
Yeah.
And what can we as students learn from your journey?
Sure. So if you'll give me, Yashasvi, about 5-7 minutes, I'd love to go through that journey because it's a fascinating one. I always wanted to become an entrepreneur. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. दूर दूर तक पूरे परिवार, पूरे खानदान में किसी ने अपनी नौकरी नहीं करी है. In fact, the only time that they did it, they failed disastrously. But I somehow had it in me that I wanted to become one. I just didn't know when. And there were lots of signs in my growing up life, which was शायद मैं करूँगा नहीं करूँगा. I'll give you 2 examples. One was when I went to the US. So I wanted to always become a space scientist. मेरी जिंदगी का अरमान था that I go to the US for a PhD program. I then joined NASA as a space scientist. And then I eventually become the first man on Mars. This is no bullshit, by the way. This is before Elon Musk came into the picture. This is before Shah Rukh Khan had come back from the US in the movie Swades as a NASA scientist. This is like pure middle-class ambition to go to the US for a fine education and all of that. And I went to the US for my PhD program. And I didn't have money to buy a laptop because we never had money growing up in life. And I was like, पैसे बनाने पड़ेंगे कहीं से. So I figured, as a physics student, that physics textbooks in the US are insanely expensive, like at least upwards of $100 and more. And there's always this Asian edition of these textbooks that are available in Nai Sadak in Delhi, Chandni Chowk. I don't know how many of you are even aware of that market. How many of you are aware of Nai Sadak? Quite a few of you. हाँ, वहीं से हमने पैसे बचाए हैं. तो I went to Nai Sadak in my summer holidays when I came back from the US, and I filled up 2 suitcases of just Resnick Hallidays. And literally just all the physics books that I could, which were insanely expensive. And then I went back to the US and listed them on eBay as secondhand books at about $40. And they all sold in 3 days. And I made my first $1,200, through which I made my first laptop. And that was, a lot of people said, you shouldn't clap because it was illegal back then. But thankfully, after a year, a Chinese student who did the exact same thing fought in the US courts and won the verdict. So God bless him, because now I'm legal. And at no point of time, if I share this story publicly, I'm going to get jailed. But my first formal entrepreneurial experience was, I was working as a consultant after my MBA. And I'm catching up with a friend of mine from business school. हम साथ ही में पढ़ते थे and रहते भी थे. And he's like, I've started this new website of mine and I want to talk to you about it. I said, sure, what's it called? He said, it's called secondshadi.com. And I was like, is it what I think it is? He's like, huh, man, it's a matrimonial verifier for remarriages. There's so many people who get married in India, so there are bound to be people who get divorced and widowed. So there has to be a platform for them to get married again. And I was like, that is such an incredible idea, dude. How did you think about that? He's like, no, my dad thought about this. And my first reaction was, I hope uncle and auntie are having a happy marriage, but more importantly, can I help? And he was like, yeah, man, I think I'm an engineer, I can build this thing out, but you can be a great fit to it, so do you want to join? But I was in a consulting job and I was thoroughly enjoying myself, so I said, if you allow me to, I would love to continue in my job and then see where it goes, and if it becomes big, then we'll make it happen. So for a year and a half, I had a day job as a consultant. During nighttime, I was Batman, trying to get people married again. And after a year and a half, then I took the plunge to start Second Shadi, which was the start of my startup journey way back in 2009 when I was 29 years of age. And it's continued since then. So I've done Groupon and then Nearby, now as a content creator, educator, and so on. And God knows what I will be doing 5 years from now.
That's so amazing. It's about the mindset, like you said, and you had that even way before you started up while selling those books in the US. That's
Illegally.
amazing. Yeah. So my next question is, in your content, I think you always lay a lot of emphasis on how 20s are the defining decade of your life, right? And the audience that we have here are mostly IIT Delhi students and some more college students who've joined us from other colleges who are all in their 20s. So what would your advice be to them? Because these people are going to either, go for higher studies, join corporate jobs, or start organizations of their own. So what would you like to tell to them?
I'm very passionate about this. Thank you for asking this, Yashasvi. Here's one thing that you all may know of, but don't realize how it is going to mess up with you. Constantly on a daily basis, somebody is telling you what you should be doing in life. and is defining that as success for you. It could be your family, could be your friends, could be your professors, could be even Instagram and YouTube and somebody who you don't even know of, who is in some way seeding an idea of success in your head. And you are then taking it as your definition of success without asking, kya genuinely ye mera success hai ya nahi? And if you don't ask that question, you are going to, for the rest of your life, be miserable living somebody else's life. And this is coming from a 42-year-old. Take it for what it's worth. In your 20s, everybody will ask you, settle down. Settle down. Jaldi se padhai khatam karo, jaldi se naukri le lo, jaldi se shadi kar lo, jaldi se wo gaadi, bangla, all those things that the society will deem as success. Jaldi jaldi kar lo, kyunki khatam kar lo aur fir zindagi ji lena. Jhoot hai. It never happens. There is no deadline towards life. There is no milestone that you have to hit. The more you succumb to that, the more you set yourself up for a lifelong of uncertainty. Instead, I think that this decade should be used for as much exploration as you can. Explore. You do not know who you are. Take it from me because I was exactly you 20 years back. We do not know who we are. We're still trying to make sense of it. We're still trying to figure, what do I like? What do I not like? What am I good at? Not good at? What is it that makes me happy? Not happy? And the worst thing you can do is get into a job thinking that that is what you should be doing for the rest of your life, and then trying to convince yourself that you ought to do it even though you are not good at it. Explore. And that doesn't mean that you keep changing jobs, huh? So don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting कि एक job से दूसरा, दूसरे से तीसरा, एक relationship से दूसरा, दूसरे से तीसरा. No. I'm saying you have to find different identities of yourself coexisting in you. If you join as a consultant somewhere, don't be a consultant. Like if I were to ask you, anybody right now, what do you do? It is unfortunate that most of you will say, I'm a student of chemical engineering at IIT Delhi. It's like, wo aapka pura vajood hai. It's your entire existence. There's nothing else to it. That's tragic, right? It's almost tragic. I would love for you to get to a point where you struggle to answer, what do you do? Because like, you know what? I fucking do so many things. I don't even know how to answer that question. If somebody asks you, hey, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? The classic interview question. I don't know what they're expecting in that. I have no, like, do you know where you will be 5 years from now? Asking me the question. I would love for all of you to say, I don't know where I will be 5 years from now, but you know what? I am okay with that. I, in fact, love that. Because I am setting myself up for a completely new thing to hit me up, as against marrying myself to something which I think is for my rest of your life. Don't do that. Keep exploring. Keep exploring. That's the best thing you can do for your decade.
I think the audience's response is speaking for itself. Thank you so much for that answer. So my next question is, you tried a PhD in astrophysics and then finally you completed your MBA from ISB. So when it comes to higher studies, I think you have quite a diverse experience. What would be your advice to those who are thinking of either going for an MS or a PhD or an MBA after their undergraduate studies, and what are the factors that one should consider before finally deciding to do it or not?
To answer this question, I'll do an opinion poll. So I want to know for you, what do you think is more important? The course that you study or the institute that you study from? Okay? What is more important? The course that you study or the institute that you study from? How many of you think that the course that you study is more important than the institute? Show of hands. Raise hand. एकदम बुलंद करके, डरना नहीं है. कुछ नहीं होगा, fail नहीं होगा. Are all of you from IIT Delhi? बिकॉज बाकी हमारा आईआईटी में नहीं हुआ तो हमारे को कोर्स बोलना पड़ेगा क्योंकि किस मुंह से बोलेंगे. आई एम पार्ट ऑफ दैट. आई ट्राइड JEE twice, never made it. No, actually thrice. But yeah, long story. Whenever you're selecting any place to study, to work, to hang out with, the only consideration that I believe you should have is, am I going to be surrounded by people who lift me up and challenge me in a way that I become a better person? who lift me up so they are not destructive for you. There are enough people who could be destructive and yet smart. They'll be so smart that you will feel destroyed in front of them. So they have to lift you up, but they make you a better version of yourself. Pick that place. Frankly, and most of you will agree with me when I say this, I hope there are no professors here, no disrespect. Nothing of what you're studying in this institute is going to materially help you in your life. What you study in class is a very small microcosm of the entire experience that you're getting. Your real experience in college, irrespective of undergrad, grad, PhD, whatnot, are the people that you're spending time with and the kind of conversations you're having. And if that lifts you up and makes you a better version of yourself, go and do that. Because that is going to be the place where everyone will gravitate towards. Employers, the best crowd, the best opportunities, everything gravitates towards a set of individuals who are super smart and bring each other up. That's frankly the only consideration. People agonize, and of course, if you're very technical, I'm not saying if you want to become a doctor, then take up a course in IIT Delhi in physics. Can't happen. But everything notwithstanding, be in the place where you're surrounded by super smart people who are constantly making you feel like there is a lot more to do and encourage you to pursue that. If you are, you're home. And that is one of the reasons why places like the IITs, the IIMs, the McKinseys of the world, all the best colleges that this country has, smell of it. Because that's where the best ideas, the best opportunities lie. And if you are part of that group, then you're setting yourself up for a great opportunity engine for the rest of your life.
So at the end of the day, it's about the people who you are with.
At the end of the day, your entire life is about the people you're with. And that starts with your own self.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. So my next question is, we've heard this concept of retiring by your 30s from you multiple times. So would you like to elaborate a little bit on that? And in terms of students who, let's say, are putting their life on a risk by starting up or by, let's say, going for higher studies, taking up loans and all, how do you think they can retire by their 30s?
So first, the definition of retirement. How many of you know of this concept called FIRE? F-I-R-E. Not ARG, but FIRE as an acronym. Okay. And it's okay if you don't. I'm glad that you don't, because it's often misquoted. The definition of FIRE, or the full form of FIRE, is financially independent, retire early. It's become this fad nowadays where people are like, oh, I'm 21 and I'm working towards a FIRE life. Like, okay, sure, all the best. Retirement is the following. Retirement is not that you stop working. That's not the definition of retirement. While we've seen our parents pursue that definition, so they celebrate, अरे 60 साल की उम्र पे देखिए मेहता जी को वो HMT की घड़ी मिली है और वो बुके, और you're celebrating this entire thing. That was retirement back then. Today, retirement is that you don't have to work for money. That if you stop working, and if you did not have the kind of income that you have today, you're not going to die. It's not a question of survival. That is true retirement. Because when you get to that point where you're financially independent, you can do whatever you want to do. You can literally do whatever you want to do. And for those, most of you, who haven't started working as yet, you have no idea. Anybody here who's working in a full-time job? Some of you are, right? So you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. You have no idea what's going to happen to your life when you start working. It will hit you like nothing else will. It's like the Matrix. No one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to go through it to experience it yourself. How many of you have watched the Matrix? Thank God. For the rest of you, please go and watch that movie. It's better than most OTT series right now. The key is, when you start working, the entire world is going to make you addicted to it. That's their job. Their job is that you never stop working, because you're an asset for the company, you do something for the company, and in return of that, they'll give you money that you think is necessary for your existence, and they'll also convince you that that's the only thing you should go after. Plus, they will encourage you to keep upgrading your lifestyle. Are Ankur, what a performer, man. BMW this year. Boss, BMW. And Ankur like, yes, BMW. 40 lakh ka loan. Yes, BMW. And then suddenly, you have that 60,000 ki EMI. So if ever at any point of time you see your friends working in startups, really enjoying yourself, living the life that they want to, you're like, boss, 60,000 rupees mahina to bare minimum qualification hai for me to even take any decision, assuming that that's the only loan you've taken. So that's the trap. And it's a beautiful trap. It is such a great trap that even though I am telling you that it is a trap, you will not believe it until you get into the trap. It is wonderfully orchestrated. So what you want to do is use the money that people give you to buy your independence. And that will only come by investing it in assets that make you money while you don't have to work. Investing your money in assets that make you money while you don't have to work. What's an example of that? If you, and this is quite crazy if you think about it, if you buy a stock of Reliance, and that is, by the way, not a recommendation, huh? No stock tips. If you buy a stock of Reliance, what's essentially happening is that you've given money to this company, and now Mukesh Ambani and his entire family and the entire Reliance team is going to work day and night to make money for you. That's exactly what's happening. You will not be working at Reliance, right? आपका 1% भी दिमाग Reliance को चलाने में नहीं जाएगा. In fact, you don't even know how it runs. Somebody else is doing all that hard work. And you get to make money from it. It's crazy when you think about it that way. So if you buy a stock of Tesla, Elon Musk अपनी पूरी जिंदगी लगा देगा आपके पैसे बनाने के लिए. Of course, he will also make money in that process. But that is such a brilliant use of your money as against buying a BMW. Or for that matter, any car. I'm not saying cars are not good, but you get the point, I hope. Use your money to buy assets so that at some point of time they make you so much money on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis that you don't have to rely on your job to survive. When you get to that point, you've retired. That's it. You've technically retired. You can now say, okay, I'm going to work in this job, but even if they, for whatever reason, fire me, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I will write the poetry that I wanted to. I will run that farm that I wanted to. I'll go on that vacation that I wanted to. I will spend time with NGOs. I will experiment with my own startup. I'll do whatever I want to do because I don't have to rely on that salary for the rest of my life to make my existence felt. That is retirement. That is the true definition of retirement. Not working towards 60 and then saying, 60 साल की उम्र में मेरे पास करोड़ों होंगे, दांत नहीं होंगे, अपना हेल्थ नहीं होगा, कुछ नहीं होगा, लेकिन मैं करोड़पति होऊंगा. Ha 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 ha. God bless Ankur Warikoo. Not going to happen. Bad idea. One opinion poll. How many of you have heard of Warren Buffett here? Almost all of you. How old is Warren Buffett? Louder? People are not sure. Like, okay, he's 93, 94, I think. How rich is he? Great answer. I don't need to give the number. Rich enough. Like, not to worry about that. How many of you here would want to be Warren Buffett? How many of you here would want to be Warren Buffett? 2, 3, 4. Raise of hands. The rest, why don't you want to be Warren Buffett? मैं क्या करूंगा उस $100 billion का जब मेरे पास maximum 5 या 7 साल है जिंदगी के? What the fuck am I going to do with that? I don't want to be him. I hope nobody here wants to be him, with no offense, because you're still learning this trade. If you have time on your hands, nothing is more important. That is what financial independence gives you. You have time. You have something that most people would love to give their left arm and right leg for. Kash mujhe 20 saal ka wapas bana do. And I am convinced most of you 20-year-old think that you're old as fuck. How many of you here think that you're really old? Like, zindagi, shit, man. Everyone around me, बाकी लोग झूठ बोल रहे हैं. Sach bolo. How many of you here are like, everybody else is so sorted. I'm the only duffer. I'm the only loser who doesn't know what I want in life. जिंदगी चली जा रही है. धीरे धीरे सबके हाथ उठ रहे हैं. धीरे धीरे जिंदगी चली जा रही है. माँ बाप के अरमान पूरे नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. दोस्त इतने आगे निकल गए हैं. कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. What you have is what most people don't. You have time. Don't let that go away because that will compound like nobody else. I'll stop. My answers are very long. Sorry. At some point of time, feel free to say, बहुत हो गया, point मिल गया हमें, like time out. You've made your point.
No, but that's such a beautiful answer and such a different way of looking at it. Thank you so much for that. So my next question is, what is one thing that you wish you knew when you were in your college and you would like to share with everyone?
I'm often asked this question and I'm always stumped at what the answer could be. I really, and I'm not lying, Reshasvi, when I say this, I don't think I wish I knew anything that I know today, except for one thing. I wish I'd made my decisions in life from a point of awareness and not ignorance. Here's what I mean by this. Go back to your class 11th. Most of you took up science. But most of you had no fucking idea what that meant. You just wanted to take up science because number अच्छे आए थे और घर में इंजीनियर हैं और IIT तो जाना ही पड़ेगा. जन्म सिद्ध अधिकार है. And some of you took commerce because घर में CA हैं, business family से हैं, मम्मी पापा वही बोल रहे हैं या नंबर अच्छे नहीं आए हैं. And then I hesitated to say this because SRCC BCom honors is like what, 99.9%, 100%. Like there are people who on their resume say 99.7%. Like how are you ever going to live with that number for the rest of your life? Will you not spend every second of your life saying, काश वो सवाल सही हो गया होता? 99.7 is so much more worse than 91%. 91% is like, boss, like 9% मुझे नहीं आता था. As against 0.3%. Like उस समय अगर हॉल में गर्मी कम होती तो शायद मैं खुले दिमाग से वो आंसर कर पाती और 100% ले पाती. Anyway. And some of you took humanities because that's what you thought you wanted to, or worse, number नहीं आए थे. And that is such a horrible way of taking decisions in life, right? That's such a horrible way of taking decisions. कोई आइडिया नहीं कि मैकेनिकल, केमिकल, इलेक्ट्रिकल, कंप्यूटर साइंस, इंजीनियरिंग करके जिंदगी में होता क्या है? Like what really happens? No idea. What really happens when you become a CA? No idea. What really happens when you become a journalist? No idea. So we're constantly taking decisions because we think we don't have other choices. And that is the worst way to take decision. It's called a Hobson's choice. A Hobson's choice is when you have an illusion of a choice when there is no choice. That is the only thing you will end up doing. Don't make your decisions from a point of ignorance. Make yourself aware. When you're thinking of a career, speak to people who are in that career, but also speak to people who were in that career and not there anymore, so that you get both the perspectives. It is very, very nice to say, अरे वाह, IIT से हर एक इंसान लाखों, करोड़ों, अरबों की सैलरी लेके जाता है. But there are enough and more people who are disillusioned by this entire experience. Speak to them so that you're aware of what this has to offer. Because when you do that, you take decisions from a point of awareness. That's the only thing that I wish I was doing in my 20s. Because I was pretty much doing the same thing that I suggested one shouldn't do.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. So I'll club the next two questions. One is, as students, you know, we have so much going on. We have classes, academics, and then extracurriculars, and internships, projects, and then fests like Rendezvous. How do we best manage our time? And then to club the next question, how do we make time for personal relationships with our families, friends, and how do we make a balance out of all that?
इसके लिए आपको मेरा कोर्स खरीदना पड़ेगा. I'm dreading to ask this question कि कितने लोग मेरे ad देख के पक चुके हैं? कोई हाथ नहीं उठाएगा. Honest admission, we are not doing this by design. Facebook और Google के सामने हम गिड़गिड़ा के बोल रहे हैं. Please हमें एक frequency cap at a account level दे दो. We have frequency caps at a campaign level. So I have, for example, 14 different campaigns running. उन सब की frequency cap is 2 per month. But that means at a user level, it is permutation combination जिसने पढ़ी होगी, almost thousands. So everybody is seeing that ad multiple times over. And of course, I wish I could do something about it, but the only thing that I can is just say sorry. The essence to managing time is to constantly be reminded of 3 things. Number 1, if you perpetually live in FOMO, God bless you, you are not going to manage time. Khatam. Story over. If you are like, oh, मैं यहाँ पढ़ रहा हूँ, लेकिन मेरे दोस्त डोगरा हॉल में अंकुर वारिको को सुन रहे हैं लाइव, मैं यहाँ उसका घटिया YouTube वीडियो देख रहा हूँ 1.5x पे, और वहाँ वो उसको 1x पे बोर हो रहे हैं. And that will just mess with your mind. It's never going to allow you to settle. So at some point in time, you have to realize you can't be there everywhere. You can't. But this training of how to condition yourself to be okay with it is a very important training. And I hope most of you who are not in your 4th year, but 2nd, 3rd, 1st year, use the rest of the years to train yourself on that. कि FOMO में लंबी सांसें लेकर कैसे अपने आप को संतुलन में लाएं. Not lose our shit, but be okay with the fact that there are other people doing other things and you are doing what you think is important. Number 1. Number 2, having a very strong sense of what is important. Because very often, what is urgent seems important. That suddenly becomes important. And you then drugged into believing that that is what you should be doing. Unfortunately, the urgent things are the ones that will be creating most noise. They are the ones that will be creating most noise in your ears, in your head. So it will be very hard for you to distract yourself and focus on the urgent. But if you're skilled for life. And then finally, number 3, be very conscious of what is it that makes you and are always like anything else. So कितने लोग हैं जो एक conversation के बाद like, oh my God, अब मेरे पास कुछ भी करने का कोई energy नहीं बचा है. That guy just came in and sucked everything out. Aware of that. So when you're aware of these things, you have to ensure that when you start your day with things that give you energy. How many here pick up your phone as the first thing you get up in the morning? जवाब आप आया, कहीं कोई पोस्ट आया है, कहीं कोई ईमेल that you know and you have no control over. World. What happens? People fuck around with you. That's it. That's all that is required. All that is required to mess up your mind and suck the energy out of you, of your friend getting into that, because you know how to get out of any shit that you are in, because you control your time. And you can then devote every bit of your existence towards fixing the state or the situation you are in. If you do not know how to control time, you will perpetually feel helpless, always out of control. And then it will only require luck for you to get out of wherever you are.
That's actually very powerful, I think. With that, I think we can begin with the audience Q&A. Before that, would you like to give any final words?
No, nothing. I'm excited for the Q&A. Let's make that happen.
We can start with the questions then. You can just raise your hands and somebody will come with the mic to you.
Some are already here. Who has a mic? Yeah, if you can.
Sir, what is your perception of success? Is it happiness, fulfillment, or a state of mind? or either satisfaction?
That's a good question. What's my definition of success? My definition of success is the ability to do whatever I want to do without caring two fucks about the world. That is my definition of success. And that means it doesn't require money. It doesn't require me to do something specific. It doesn't require me to become a certain individual. I will constantly keep changing depending on what I want to do at that point of time. And if I do not get me at there, the gentleman on the front row, and then the lady there. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you. I want to ask that how to approach you for funding if we have an idea or any recommendation.
That's why he's sitting at the front.
I'm so sorry, I didn't get the question.
How to approach you for funding if we have any idea or any serious recommendation if we want.
How to approach me for funding if you have an idea? Just send me an email. I get a lot of emails. I read all my emails. I only reply to a few of them. So in case you've sent me an email,
Sir, I message you on LinkedIn and you.
LinkedIn ab thoda. So LinkedIn, Instagram, don't message me on social media platforms because I get so much and it's very hard. But it is crazy how I don't get as many emails. And I'm able to read through all of them because I love reading my emails. So send me an email. If I don't reply, you should know I have read your email. So there is a reason why I haven't replied. If you send it back to me, I'm going to read that as well. I read all my emails. तो अगर मेरा जवाब नहीं आ रहा है, मतलब कुछ तो उस email में सही नहीं है, which you need to fix. I'm not going to give you that answer, but you have to find that out yourself. Is that okay? Yeah?
Yes, sir. Fine.
Yeah? Now don't ask me what my email address is because then फिर मैं कभी जवाब नहीं दूंगा. Okay, the lady there, she had raised her hand. If you still have a question. Yes.
So, Ankur, I work in a school. Can I?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
It's for others to answer. मैं तो बहुत distance पे हूँ. तो.
Yeah. So, एक चीज जो आपकी मुझे बहुत समझ में आई वो है जुगाड़, because I've been from forces. Dad was in Air Force. और जिंदगी जुगाड़ में निकल गई. तो जनरली जो आजकल के बच्चे सोचते हैं पैसा होगा तो एंटरप्रेन्योर बनूंगा. But you, I mean, the way you went to Nai Sarak, and it really, that was a journey for you to become an entrepreneur. So my question is, क्या पैसा होगा तभी एंटरप्रेन्योर बन सकते हैं या बिना पैसे भी बन सकते हैं?
The answer is very simple. To become an entrepreneur, you don't need money. Money helps, for sure it helps. But so many people do not ever start because they think that the qualification to start is money. The qualification to start is an idea in a market that is massive, so you have a great tailwind that is helping you without you necessarily having to put in a lot of effort to make it happen. The right team that can make it work for you. And most importantly, your own mindset on what you want from it. Here are 3 wrong reasons to become an entrepreneur. How many of you here want to become an entrepreneur? Now or sometime in the future? Sometime in the future, pe sabne haath khade kar liya. Okay. Number 1, you want to make money. Horrible reason to become an entrepreneur. Most of you understand math. Most of you hopefully attended your probability classes. The probability of you becoming rich through an entrepreneur is infinitely smaller than the probability of you making money in a job. Don't look at the alpha, which is the survivors. Look at the probability of success as well, which is what is important. So, worst reason to start up is because मैं अपनी wrong reason escape current life. Almost always the wrong reason. And number
very personal, how to build
very beautiful relationship with your parents. Like how to convince them to communicate with you as a child.
Okay. Which of these two questions, if I could answer only one, is important?
Second one.
I'm glad you said that. First one would have been such a... Okay, thank you. I will answer both. I'll answer both. Please have a seat. Number one, what are the softer skills required to be an entrepreneur? Conclusively, people management. Everything ultimately is about people. It's not about entrepreneurship. Every role that you play in life is going to be ultimately about people. You have no choice but to know, then it doesn't matter how smart you are. Because people are emotional, unpredictable, inconsistent, and completely differs when it comes to being rational. So you have to have a very, very strong sense of how you work with people and make that happen. Parents, I can have another 1 hour session on that, but here's the big picture. How many of you here wish that what she was saying was true? Kash hamare maa baap hame samajh paate. Show of hands. Okay. बाकी सबके कितने लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि उनके माँ बाप उनको completely समझते हैं? Very nice, yeah. Great. You can, by the way, ask all of them, because my answer is not going to be any different, assuming that you know the answer. Here is one thing. Our parents had a very different life than what we are all going through. उनकी जिंदगी में बहुत जद्दोजहद थी. They're low risk, because if they took risk and it didn't work out, it didn't mean that, oh, कल एक और risk ले लेंगे. It meant घर में खाना ही नहीं आएगा, बच्चों को स्कूल से निकालना पड़ेगा, right? गुंडे घर पे पहुंच जाएंगे. So it was a completely different time that we were living in. Now it's a very different era. So when they tell us, you should do this in life, you should do this in life, become an engineer, take up this job, don't take this risk, marry this person, blah, 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 their risk profile is getting activated. But they want the same things for you from your life that you want from your life. They want the same things from you, from your life, that you want for your life. As long as you know that, don't try and convince your parents. That's my humble request. Because convincing means disregarding their experience and telling them my experience is more than you, which is not true. Instead, have a conversation as far out as you can. 3 Idiots आपने देखी है? लास्ट सीन याद है फरहान का अपने अब्बा के साथ? वही सीन हर एक इंसान को अपनी जिंदगी में दोहराना ही पड़ेगा in front of their parents. We're scared of doing that because we're like, नहीं, सारे फिल्मी अब्बा थोड़ी होते हैं. But the truth is that they are ready to hear you out if you're ready to not convince them, but explain where you're coming from. And prove to them that what they want from your life is what you also want from yours, but the direction or the path may be different. And here is why this path could work out. All I need to know is that if I fail, you will never stop trusting me. That's all I need to know. So go back to that one person that you believe you will disappoint the most if you fail in life. हर एक इंसान की जिंदगी में वो एक शख्स होता है. हमारे माँ बाप हो सकते हैं, दोस्त हो सकते हैं, भाई बहन हो सकते हैं. That one person that you believe will be most disappointed if you fail in life. And go and seek their permission to fail. They will give it to you. Trust me, they will give it to you. But you need to go and tell them, I need to know that if I fail, you will never stop trusting me. And if they give you that permission, fuck the world. That's it. Job done. That's it. Trust me. It'll be a whole new you. I hope that helped. बाकी जो हैं तो वो तो आप सीख ही सकते हैं.
Hello.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Do you have a question? Okay, great. After that. Yes, sir.
So, firstly,
Thank you.
thank you so much, sir, for being here. पहली बात तो मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि जो मेरी इन्वेस्टमेंट की जर्नी शुरू हुई है just because of you. मतलब it took me around 2 years. I was so confused and messed up in the investment part कि कहाँ पे इन्वेस्ट करूँ, कैसे इन्वेस्ट करूँ, SIP ये वो मैंने पूरा YouTube शान मारा. मतलब like everything I watched, and the day I watched your video, that gives me a clarity that this is the thing that I want to do.
Thank you.
Because of you, I came into the investment journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, पहले तो ये ड्रीम कम ट्रू वाला मोमेंट है, बिकॉज मैं जम्मू से आता हूँ और जम्मू के एक ऐसे एरिया से आता हूँ जहाँ पर लोगों को IIT और ITI का कोई डिफरेंस नहीं पता है. दे डोंट नो इवन अबाउट व्हाट इज IIT एंड ITI. तो मेरे लिए तो बहुत ड्रीम, इवन दो आई एम शिवरिंग राइट नाउ, आई डोंट इवन नो कि मैं कभी आपसे मिल पाऊंगा या नहीं मिल पाऊंगा. लाइक मैंने और मेरे फ्रेंड ने प्लान किया था कि हम आपको मेल करेंगे, स्पेशली कोल्ड ईमेल करेंगे ताकि हम वहाँ पर आपसे मिल सकें, एक जस्ट छोटी सी बात, जस्ट नॉर्मल कॉन्वर्जेशन ये बता सकें कि आपका इतना बड़ा इम्पैक्ट हुआ है, कि आपके इतने से इम्पैक्ट से कहाँ मैं जम्मू में बैठा हुआ एक लड़का और आपकी एक छोटी सी वीडियो से मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट जर्नी शुरू कर पाया अपनी, जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट थिंग. एंड दैट मेक्स वेरी, बिकॉज घर वालों के लिए हमारे लिए क्या होता है, घर वालों के लिए अगर हम कभी भी बोलें उनको कि हमें इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी है या हमें SIP करनी है, दे जस्ट सेड कि बैंक में जाओ जमा करवा लो वो 3-4% का. इवन दो जब आप FD के बारे में बोलते हो, FD लाइक दैट वे, सो मैं जब उनको बताता हूँ बट वो वैसा भी समझने को तैयार नहीं है. दे विल बी लाइक FD इज द सेफेस्ट ऑप्शन. बट जब उनको इंटरेस्ट के बारे में बताया जाए, दे विल बी लाइक 3% पे भी हमें चलेगा, वी डोंट वांट 10, 11, 12%, हमें उस पर भी चलेगा 3-4% पे. बट मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि आप क्रिस्टोफर नोलन हो यूट्यूब के. क्यों? क्योंकि द वे यू लुक एट थिंग्स ना, दैट्स टोटली डिफरेंट. मतलब अगर आप इंटरस्टेलर को ले लो, इंसेप्शन को ले लो, अब देखो उस पर्सन का स्टोरी टेलिंग का आइडिया ही डिफरेंट है, एंड द वे यू टेल द स्टोरी दैट्स टोटली डिफरेंट एनी कंटेंट क्रिएटर ऑन द यूट्यूब.
लोगों को ना ऐसा लगेगा कि मैंने तुम्हें पैसे दिए हैं तो
नो सर, इट्स लाइक वेरी,
अब तुम रुक जाओ, आंखों में आंसू आने वाले हैं मेरे. अगले महीने की तुम्हारी इन्वेस्टमेंट मैं कर दूंगा तुम्हारे लिए.
I was thinking about that also. No, it was very like right now I'm shivering. I just don't know कि ये moment मेरे लिए कब आएगा. I know that कि 2020 approximate 2020 या 2021 में हमने अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट की जर्नी शुरू की थी, and from that onwards I subscribed your channel. I watched every bit of video, like every video put. मतलब वो हर एक वीडियो में देखता हूँ, इवन तो आप किसी के साथ बना रहे हो, जैसे अक्षत सर के साथ बनाई थी, या देयर वाज अ गर्ल नेम्ड हाँ मयूरी, तो उनके साथ भी आई वॉच एवरी वीडियो लाइक ऑफ यू. लाइक आई वाज सो मेस्मराइज्ड व्हेन आई लुक एट यू, द वे यू स्पीक, द ऑरा. इट्स नॉट ओनली दैट आई एम सीइंग यू राइट नाउ, यूट्यूब पे भी वो ऑरा मेस्मराइज करता है सर. सर कैन आई टच यू, लाइक कैन आई हैंडशेक यू?
Can you come on stage? आ जाओ, स्टेज पे आ जाओ. Question.
So I wanted to ask was that since the very beginning, then studying for JEE, went to Kota and everything, and now when I see that people are telling that do the unconventional stuff, it does interest me, but then there's always that fear of uncertainty, and that's, I'm stuck in this cycle. I start something and then I feel kuch nahi ho raha yahan pe, just go back to studying and all. So how does a person deal with that fear of uncertainty?
The fear of uncertainty is real, and the way that you have to deal with this is, please have a seat. It's totally okay. बैठ जाओ. मैं थोड़ा घूम लूं. You have to center one part of your life, because if everything is moving, you will feel uncertain. It's an eventuality. You have to center one part of your life. Now that could be anything. That could be your studies, because that's your superpower. It could be a relationship, which is there. It could be maybe a job that you're working in. Whatever is it, center yourself on one, and in that centering moment, do whatever you can to take out more time to explore. Your nights, your weekends, your time after work, or whatever is it that's left, use that time to explore. Use that time to create 1 month capsules. In that 1 month, go and become a student again of a completely new domain. Let's say you want to explore digital marketing. You have no idea about it, but you're like, दूर से तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है. Let's see what it is. So you pick up online courses around that. You speak to people who are digital marketeers. You speak to people who were digital marketeers but are not there anymore. You get a perspective. At the end of the month, you ask yourself, did I like it? And if the answer is yes, continue with it. Pick up internships, projects. If the answer is no, move on to something else, a new thing. In a year, which may seem like a really long time, but trust me, it's not. You would have explored anywhere between 6 to 12 new things while having the center of your life stable. So you will never feel कि मैं बह रही हूँ. You will feel कि मैं एक दिशा में तो जा रही हूँ. What I don't know is if that direction is the right one for me or not. But if I have the flow, I can easily move at any point of time. And it is possible. So center yourself. Don't be like बहती हवा सा. नहीं, वो नहीं. वो गाना बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा impractical है. The key is center yourself and then keep exploring using that center, and you spread those tentacles. Next thing you know, within a year, you're doing something completely different. And people are like, ये रातों रात कैसे हो गया? And that is when magic happens. That is when magic happens. Great. Yashasvi has agreed to a few more questions. Okay, let's go 1, and then 2, ma'am, and then 3. Yes. Okay. First you, sir. Mic कोई बचाएगा इनके पास? Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I have a question that we all are teenagers or in our 20s, and the thing what I feel, and I think most of us feel, is that we have a conflict with our own decisions. And we just cannot make a decisive decision throughout our day. So how can we help on our that?
Great. I love that. What's your name?
Aditya Vikram Singh.
Aditya.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, Aditya. Love your energy. Aditya, when we're taking decisions, there are 2 things that I keep reminding myself. Number 1, most decisions that we make in our life, baith jao Aditya. Thank you,
sir.
Most decisions that we make in life are reversible. Which means once we've taken the decision, we can actually go back to our original state if the decision doesn't work out. But हमें ऐसा लगता है that most decisions in our life are irreversible. Oh shit, एक बार ले लिया तो क्या होगा? That isn't true. It isn't. 90% or perhaps 95%, I wasn't measuring, of our decisions in our life, in our daily existence are completely reversible. So don't spend an iota of your energy in trying to fret over taking the right decision or not. If the decision doesn't work, come back to where you were, take the other decision. Smooth as hell, trust me, it works. But there will be some decisions in life which are not seemingly reversible. There, I employ a mental model called the worst case visualization mental model. What I do is, I visualize what's the worst thing that can happen if I take this decision. So let's say you're in college, you don't want to sit for placements, you want to go and start up on your own. But you're scared to do that and you're not sure whether you should do it or not. So you imagine कि अगर मैं अपना startup शुरू करता हूँ, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do that? And the answer is the startup shuts down. So imagine that day when the startup has shut down. Imagine that you're standing in front of your employees and you'll be like, we don't have a job anymore. The startup doesn't exist anymore. It's shut down. I don't have money to pay. The idea cannot work anymore. And I'm really, 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 really sorry that we came to this. But please start looking for a job from tomorrow onwards. And if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm more than happy to help. I'm really sorry. It's not your fault. It's all mine. But we are in this. And then imagine that evening you go to this party and people are like, "Hey, boss, startup kaise chal raha hai?" And you'll be like, I had to shut it down today. And then you tell your parents and you announce it to the world and so on. So go through that motion, close your eyes and feel it. The reason I ask you to close your eyes and feel it is because our mind is a beautiful animal. It doesn't know how to differentiate from reality and imagination. अक्सर होता है जब हम एक सपना देख रहे होंगे and we get up and we still question कि हम सपना देख रहे हैं कि ये असली दुनिया है. That's because our mind is not oriented to distinguish between reality and imagination. So if you were to close your eyes and vividly imagine the scenario unfolding in front of you, you will begin to feel very close to what you will feel in real life. Like आपकी दिल की धड़कनें तेज हो जाएंगी, पसीना आने लगेगा, कांप रहे होंगे because it's not a good position to be in. And then ask yourself this very important question. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be okay financially, socially, mentally, emotionally, physically? Am I going to be okay? And if the answer is no, don't take that decision. You're not ready to take that decision. And if the answer is yes, then don't wait for any other moment to take that decision. Just make that decision happen. You still don't know whether it's the right decision or not, but trust me, there will never be a better moment for you to take that decision, because in your head, you are prepared for the worst shit happening to you. Everything else will become a bonus from there on. These two mental models. Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
Great. Ma'am, yes.
Hi, Ankur.
Hi.
I'm Kathy. I just want to know your take on the relevance of MBA programs in the current world, given your experience. I know this could be a controversial take, but I still want to know.
Sure. So I benefited a lot from my MBA program because I knew nothing in life. My perspective in life was zero. I had dropped out of my PhD. I had 9 months of real work experience. So if you ask me who are the most important men and women in the world, my answer would be Madame Curie, Albert Einstein, Archimedes, Newton. I had zero idea what sales is, what marketing is, what finance is, what IT is, what HR is, and so on and so forth. So for me to spend time with people who had done that in real life was brilliant. I got to know so much about my own self and about the real world that I wouldn't trade that for anything. However, a lot of people think of an MBA as a shortcut to a better salary, a better company that they think that they would never get to, and so on. And in that case, that could very well be the reason. It is important to recognize that what you're learning in the class is not going to be the conclusive differentiator. But the fact that you get into a certain program, which is very critical, because if you want to, let's say, break into the consulting firms, you have to be in the top business schools. You have no choice but to do that. Or if you want to get through, I don't know, FMCG, HULs of the world, then you have to go to the retail business schools, which are the top in class and are known for that. If you don't do that, it's quite likely that your objective will not be fulfilled. I do stand here saying that most of what I learned in my MBA program is not that I ever used. And that's, by the way, true for most colleges in general. So don't think of the education per se as the differentiator. Think of the brand, the network that you get access to, of course, the monies that you will have to pay, both in terms of time and real money, and keeping that into account. It could be a brilliant game changer, as it was for me, or it could not move the needle because you didn't focus on the facts that would actually make it work. You just over-indexed on, say, the classroom or something that wasn't meaningful. Yeah? Cool. Yes. Okay, both of you, because both of you are like line in sight. Okay, can you pass the mic? हाँ, पहले आप and फिर आपके बाद. And you, okay. Last question.
Hello sir.
Hello.
Thank you for choosing me. Actually, मैं खुद भी investment. क्या हुआ?
उनको लगा हम proposal कर रहे हैं, but ठीक है.
मैं खुद भी इन्वेस्टमेंट करता हूं और मैं उसके फेवर में हूं, बट माय क्वेश्चन इज कि अभी मेरे पास 10 लाख रुपए हैं, तो मेरे पास दो ऑप्शन है कि या तो मैं उसको इन्वेस्ट कर दूं या फिर मैं डेप्रिशिएटिंग एसेट कोई ले लूं, या तो मैं कोई कार ले लूं या फिर किसी भी चीज़ में लगा दूं. तो माय क्वेश्चन इज कि अभी अगर मेरे को कोई डेप्रिशिएटिंग एसेट खरीदने में जॉय मिलता है, खुशी मिलती है, ठीक है, तो क्यों ना मैं उस चीज़ में लगाऊं, जबकि इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के 5 से 10 साल बाद मेरे को रिटर्न्स मिलेंगे और क्या पता 5 से 10 साल में मैं रहूं या ना रहूं. तो क्या ये वो वाली बात नहीं हो जाएगी कि प्रेजेंट में ना जी के फ्यूचर में जीना?
बिल्कुल वैलिड सवाल है, बिल्कुल वैलिड सवाल है, एंड थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग ऑनेस्ट विद दैट क्वेश्चन एज वेल. फर्स्टली कांग्रेचुलेशंस कि आपका 10 लाख रुपए का कॉर्पस है, बैठ जाइए.
थैंक यू सर.
अब तो मैं वाकई में आपसे शादी करना चाहता हूं. The way to answer this question is not to think of them as cutting each other. अगर आपके पास पैसा है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है द चॉइसेस आर कि मैं इन्वेस्ट करूं या अपनी जिंदगी जीऊं. आपका एक बजट है, एंड दैट इज हाउ यू हैव टू अप्रोच मनी. Money is never to be used for only one purpose. Money has to be used for multiple purposes. For example, अगर आपने मेरे वीडियोस देखे होंगे, अगर नहीं भी देखें that's perfectly fine. एक बहुत ही फंडामेंटल बजटिंग रूल होता है 50-30-20 रूल, which says 50% of your inflow goes towards your needs, जो आपकी जरूरतें हैं जिंदगी की, your EMI, your rent, your खाने का खर्चा, blah blah blah. 30% goes towards your wants, आपकी इच्छाएं, आपके desires, and then 20% goes towards your investments. तो अगर आपको गाड़ी खरीदनी है, which in your admission, not my words, is a depreciating asset, नहीं बोलेंगे हम उसको, क्योंकि उसको इतनी इज्जत नहीं देंगे हम. Depreciating commodity, कि जैसे ही आप गाड़ी खरीदेंगे, शोरूम से बाहर निकलेंगे, उसकी औकात 30% कम हो चुकी होगी. और वापस उनके पास जाएंगे ना, ओ यार गलती कर दी, नहीं खरीदनी थी, तो बोलते हाँ सर हम वापस ले लेंगे 70% पे, राइट? सो दैट इज अ डेप्रिशिएटिंग कमोडिटी. If you do choose to buy that, which is absolutely legit, it has to come from that 30% allocation of your money. It has to come from that. So you have to now allocate your money in such a way कि आप पाई जोड़कर या एक लोन लेकर उस 30% के अंदर रहकर अपनी जिंदगी जिस हिसाब से जीना चाहते हैं जिएंगे. And 30% is not a small amount. It's lesser than the investment amount. But that is how you be smart about your money. Don't make it a binary decision of gadi ya zindagi. Sorry, gadi ya investment. It has to be something which is in the middle. Okay, I'm sorry the guy behind you. Time नहीं बचा है क्योंकि यशस्वी बहुत डांटती है, सुनने में आया. तो thank you so much everybody. It was a pleasure and please take over.
Thank you so much. That was indeed a session full of learnings and fun and good humor. Thank you so much for coming, sir. This really means a lot. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule. To end, if we can just have a picture with the audience. We can face this side and...
Okay.
So we have cameras here.
कोविड प्रोटोकॉल को ड्रॉप करके मास्क उतार के एक चेयर देंगे. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. एक वीडियो भी. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Guys, I request you to please settle down. We have Instagram Unite.